Could you say something to the mind so it won't feel scared?
That's very interesting what you're saying. That's my ultimate goal in life, because I witness scaring a lot of the shit of the people, and when the blockage is there, when the dissonance is there, nothing can go through. So the only way that can be we can address that is to be friend with the mind and not try to make an enemy of that, and trying to be clever and not to enter a situation where there's a dead end. And Ragi is doing that a lot. He's actually spending his time going around all the blockages and the resistance, and by jokes, by paradoxes, by different angles. There are a lot of possibilities there. But addressing the message by itself, brutal, you don't exist, it's like, everything is blocked. So I'm not going to say anything threatening, and I'm going to play like mouse and cat until I can jump on you and bite you. But it has to be quick, otherwise it doesn't work. I'm not trying to make intellectual clarity here. If and when I have some access, it's that the words are recognized to be pointing at something that we're going to explore together. That is actually surely not the result of any intellectual understanding, clarity, and it's a direct experience. The other pointer I can give you right now is that you might feel that I have something special that you don't have, which is totally wrong, because what's been shared here is our nature, whatever is recognized or not. And it's not about gaining something, it's not about grabbing, it's not about this movement of getting bigger in size. It's the opposite. So clearly, I'm sure here we are in Tiruvannamalai. We've been all through the whole process that you described. So we don't need to go into this nitty-gritty. What I would like to maybe share, if I can, is tips and tricks on what, in my own experience, created some confusion. And then, which, when the confusion was removed, what appeared to be there and recognized to be there, to have been there all the time, was just totally obvious, actually. But it was not obvious as long as I had these ideas about, this thing and that thing. And one of the confusion I had, how you describe exactly your experience as waking up in the morning and the world unfolding, and suddenly the me appearing there, and the identification. There is actually a possibility, and I'm just describing, I'm not prescribing anything, I'm describing something that let's say if I'm going to describe my waking up in the morning, and then we compare. And actually that's interesting to do, because if you want to be really honest, it's not going to be different from yours. Okay? But the formulation is going to be quite different. Okay? If I want to describe that, is that, okay, maybe later we'll talk about deep sleep and all that, that's a different topic, but let's start at the morning. There is the sense of beingness. And then very quickly after that, it's I am. Okay, the I is not, is the subject of whatever happens. It's not yet identified with a part of it. Okay, it's pure. And it's, for most of the people, it's not even noticeable, or some, with time, there is a possibility of staying there for some time, but it gets lost. So in my waking up in the morning, this I am is there, but it was there before, but that's a different topic. But I am, okay? And then what a possibility I'm describing is that the world is going to appear, the world is going to unfold, to spring out of this awareness, because awareness being the condition for the world to appear. Without awareness, there is nothing. So that's the matter of the universe to start with. And then the universe starts unfolding, springing out of nothingness, and a possibility is that a story, at the same time, a story becomes more and more coherent. And within the story, there is things happening. And suddenly, there might be the realization, oh, there is a body. There are thoughts coming up. There's birds in the sky. I hear the frogs in the pond. That all that will have actually the same, exactly the same weight, the same level. There's no division that's happening, which will split the story at this point, very early in the morning, between outside and inside, the world and myself. Okay, so I ask all of you right now, and it's a challenge. I'm going to do like Ragi. I have in my bag right now $1 million, which is ready for you, for whoever is going to prove me that there is a way to put this label me and this label not me. And that's a proof. I need a proof for that. We have been doing that our whole life. We say, oh, this is me, this part is me, inside the thoughts is me, this is not me, this is not me. We've been doing that. And at some point, if we question and look at this labeling, we have no proof. It's a habit. So whoever here in this room has something to say that is going to prove that there is a reality into this labeling, I have $1 million for him. For her.
Sure.
Show me, I have my credit card here. I show you my credit card.
It's in Ragi's room.
Yeah. No, I'm going to use his $1 million because he talks about it, so he must have it somewhere. So we use this, it's fantastic the way we start, because it's actually where the duality starts. Okay? So this label is happening. What is the parameter? What is the, if it's happening, there must be some reason for that. What are the reasons? Anybody?
Just believe it.
Sorry?
I'm just believing it.
Yeah, the belief is actually that's the only thing that is blocking the clear view. It's beliefs. It's not thousands of years of meditation or experiences and whatever. It's just unexplored beliefs. And the unexplored part is quite strong, because I witnessed over the years talking to people that there is a part that doesn't want to see. There is a huge resistance. I call that cognitive dissonance. So the cognitive dissonance is going to be creating a situation where what is being said is kind of recognized, but because it's in dissonance with whatever we have been learning, I mean, we're doing, it's another doing, there is a rejection. And the rejection is funny. I have so many examples. I could write a book about the rejection process. It can be, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I don't want to enter that zone. Or can we talk about something else? Or there's so many examples. Or the mind, I can see that the person in front of me is getting blank, and there's clearly something else happening there. The shopping list, or the next holidays. So this cognitive dissonance is the reason for the unexplored part. It's not explored because nobody, the mind that feels is an entity, doesn't want to go there. So it's a belief that, okay, we know, all of us we know, but the interesting part that I can share here, it's the exploration. And if the exploration suddenly becomes a kind of priority in your life, in your daily living, allowing that to happen, even if fears comes up, it might be terrifying. Though it's an illusion, the fear, but it's still physically, it might be still there. There is a sensation maybe of dying, of losing something that's so important in our life, of letting go of something that we will miss later on. So there is a lot of possibility of fears there. But the reality is that without this exploration, nothing can change. It's going to be always the same pattern. Bill wakes up in the morning, splits the world in two parts, and from one part starts to say, I'm going today to find out who I am, and I'm going to merge with the big whole because that's what I've been told. And actually in reality, it's too late. It's way too late. It's never going to happen that way.
So could you say that stopping happens?
Yeah.
You can't do anything, you can't make it happen.
You cannot make it happen.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there is nothing to do. You see? That's the paradox. Do you see that?
What to do?
Ah! That's the next question. So I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to give some pills and...
But in the case of Bill, could we say billing happens?
Well, for sure.
Billing continue to happen.
Yeah. It's you know, there's nothing we can do. What I'm talking about is the stopping of a background process that is harmful, what I said actually. Yeah? So when you ask the question, so what can we do? I'm just saying, don't do anything. It doesn't mean that nothing is going to happen, but if you start escaping by wanting to do something, you're already replicating your past process. Do you see that? So just stopping is, and then within the stopping, life is going to go on. The sun is going to rise in the morning, and the moon, and your own body is going to wake up in the morning and go to the bathroom, but already there will be a sense of release, of relief, actually, of lightness, that you don't have to fix that. There is no need of fixing anything. There is no need of getting something more. This is not the direction. It doesn't help. You've done that maybe your whole life, and it still doesn't help.
So you can stay just in being, just do nothing and
No,
just be.
it's not even that. It's realizing that you haven't done anything ever. Looking at this situation right now, there is talking happening, there is some answers coming. Where they come from? You can say, oh, it's coming from a mind, a body. Okay, we can say relatively within the story, we can describe like that. But actually, the intuition, when you don't know actually what's really happening, is that it is a happening. It's a dance. You see, and the dance. Already seeing the dance is a kind of non-doing, because action is happening but you're not doing it anymore.
So, does all doing come from the past?
Yeah, this whole doing comes from a memory from the past. It's a kind of replicating of the same thing that survives only in this false sense of continuity. You see? By doing the same thing again and again and again, which I would call selfing, this selfing, replicating itself, seems to be continuous. And we say, oh, that's me. But actually, it's totally fragmented. It doesn't happen in many cases. Let's say you take your bike, in a place you know very well, you go from point A to point B, They might be just driving, happening, enjoying the scenery, and not the selfing. And suddenly you remember, oh, I am driving the bike when you reach there, because there's again a connection. But in between, where were you? Actually, it was just a happening. Or into creative art, into beauty, there's so many times. Actually, the selfing doesn't happen that much, but it happens enough to create this sense of continuity. Actually, this sense of continuity is kind of mimicking another thing that's happening, which is not in time, not in space. It's something that all of us know very well, is this sense of being. I am. It's there all the time. If you check now, it's there, all of you. If we check in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, and if we check in the past, we have memories of it. It was there. Every single time there was a word, I am. And if you go any space you've been in India, in Los Angeles, in any place, it's the same. It's not related to space. There's no size. How big is the I am? Is 1 meter diameter, 2 meter, 10? 2 kilometers? There's no size. There's no time, there's no size. Is it happening here in this world?
So you're saying that seeking pleasure and avoiding pain is almost a fundamental biological impulse of being
Correct.
human.
Yeah.
And that in itself does not create duality,
No.
but it's that identity with those biological processes.
Well, it's not even, it's identity with some of these processes. When you see a bird in the sky, or the wind moving the trees, you say, well, that's something that's happening outside, and it's a process, it's something happening. When suddenly in the morning you jump from your bed to go to the bathroom, you say, oh, but that's a different process, I'm doing it. Does it need to be there? Or could it be that the jumping from the bed and the bird in the sky are exactly the same kind of process? They are different, but they don't need to have a labeling outside of the fact that they are just different, but that's all. If there is no labeling as specific happening, if I don't label this as my body, just a body, a name, a function, that the thoughts that come are just coming, I don't know where, it's not mine, they come, they are not even in this space, so they come. This talk that's been given right now, I have no idea what I'm going to say next, and next, and next, so it's just happening, it's some sound. I don't see this information, more mine, that whatever is coming, that seemingly that way. So if I'm not doing that, cutting inside, outside all the time, what remains is it's unknown. There's no possibility of grasping anything. It's a dance that happens by itself. But it's not that there's this confusion happening. I had that in a few cases of people. Yeah, I felt I was the tree. I felt I was this. I was that. It's not about that. It's not about extending this me feeling into the bigger universe or something bigger and bigger. This is another. It's the same thing. If we do, even if we merge with the universe, it's still a grabbing situation. What I'm talking is a release. Release the stupid process that's the background. That is actually using most of your energy. And when it's gone, the energy is tremendously higher. You don't need any more cocaine. So maybe that if there's a need, it's these reminders that, because it's kind of something we tend to forget because of this dissonance happening all the time. So it's like, so suddenly it seems so simple, and then the next second, next minute, it's not anymore. And the reminder comes, and but reminder is not only verbal, it can be live itself, it can be a beautiful scene. When there's a beautiful event happening, usually, or not even beautiful, anything, but it's more obvious when it's beautiful, there's nobody there, there is just the seeing. And that's what I'm talking about. And it can be, it doesn't need to be at a specific time and space, it can be in any situation. because what's lost is something that was not bringing any clarity, joy, more information. It's just a useless process. And another parameter is that it's fun. Okay, yesterday we spoke about that a bit more, about the seriousness of the search, and that's a big way of identifying. You know, when you do something special, I'm not just my identity as I don't know, as my job or whatever, family man, a mother or whatever. I'm a seeker and I'm looking for the big question in life, who I am and blah 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 and all that. Taking that role seriously, it's huge identification as well. And it's not, I don't mean that it doesn't need passion. Passion seems to be the burning question is really part of why we're here together today. And without that, there would be no meeting, there would be no communication about that. So the passion is there, but there's an interesting approach. That is that within this passion, to laugh at yourself, at the world, at the whole. It's a comedy. Sometimes it might seem like a tragedy, but even that, to laugh at it, and not to force yourself, but to try to recognize the smile that's there all the time. It's a joke. It's a divine joke, but it's still a joke. Usually we make the situation worse by reading stuff from reports of so-called sages and stuff like that. That there is no thought state, there is no guilt, no shame. Ragi is talking about that all the time, and it's obviously a pointer to something that exists, but it's not something that needs to be applied. It's the side effect, it's the direct implication of this recognition. So instead of being interested by the side effects, or I want my life fixed, I don't want to feel guilt anymore, I want to heal this, that. Instead of being hypnotized by this part and trying to get again something out of these meetings, forget about that. It's not important. It's not important.
But that means there's no cause and effect.
There is causes and effect all the time. I mean, if there's always, it's only cause and effect. It's a system that is input and output. What is pointed there is that there is no personal cause and personal effect. It's a system in equilibrium, and everything. For example, I would say that for us to be in this room all together, the whole universe had to contribute that, to create that. Starting with the dinosaurs, starting with the Big Bang before the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs were created so that there will be this, that, the human, and the room, and then we have this meeting happening together. So the cause is so multiple that cannot be pinpointed at a specific, it's the whole universe, actually, it's the story of life. That's the cause. But saying, oh, I decided to go to satsang, that might be a necessarily hallucination.
Feels like you're saying we don't exist.
I didn't say that.
Well, I know that.
Can we all say right now, if you check, we exist? Can we? I mean, if there is something that can be, Ramesh was saying that's the only thing that we are sure about, that I exist, or there is something instead of nothing. There would be a realization that this I, this existence itself, is not happening here, somewhere in the body, in the mind. It's the substratum of the universe, it's the matter of the universe. And within that, as that, this room appears, these beautiful bodies, this conversation, and this is me actually. I don't know where I'm located. There's no more location. I cannot say, I am in the body, in the mind, whatever. I am that, I am the universe.
We don't have control regardless.
No, we don't have control. It's not that we don't have control, it's even worse than that. The actual formulation, and it's not even perfect, but it's better, is there is nobody, there is no part that can be in control of the rest. Because this part, imaginary part, doesn't exist as an entity, it exists as a part, as a table, as a mat, as a body, as another body, and all that. So how come a part will be special and have a specific control? So it's not that a part, which I call my body mind, has no control, which would be a horrible life actually, because I would be like locked in the body and like a robot and saying things that I don't want to say because I have no control. It's all complicated, and it's not a proper life actually. The question or the exploration of control or no control becomes totally irrelevant. It's funny, no? It's a dissolution. I'm talking about something that's going to dissolve, not to be answered. I'm not answering your question about the control because it doesn't exist. The question doesn't exist in the first place. If you say, this table is brown or red or blue, you have to isolate the table and be clear that that's the form, the definition of a table. Okay? If you tell me we have the control, I agree, it's a sentence in English, but you will have to define the we are talking about. And if you are not capable of defining this, stop talking about control and not control. It's an hallucination. It doesn't exist. It's a question that doesn't exist.
Are you saying you're trying to control what about the table? Like the color of it, or?
No, what I'm saying is the table is an object we can define together. We know we have a certain set of rules that define a table, that's density, color, placement, shape, whatever. And then we agree and we say the table is brown, red, or blue. Okay? That's a sentence that makes sense. I love this sentence. That's the only sentence I agree to have here in this meeting. But if you tell me I have the control, I don't agree, because if you put a parameter that is control, no control, to I, show me the I first. This I you're talking about. And if you realize the I that actually I'm trying to reveal right now, you will understand that the control no control makes no sense.
Yeah, I understand.
So when you talk about that something happened to me, it's not true. It's not what I just said before. If something happened, it's life remembers itself, and it seems to happen true or for, but then the location is not there anymore, so it's very difficult. And the most striking feature of this realization is that it's not that something that happened, it's a realization of something that was there all the time. So if nothing changed, is there anything happening really?
Did you feel anything happening to you?
No.
You went to Ramesh?
Yeah, but that's part of the story, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have this story that you went to Ramesh to get this awareness.
Yeah.
So how long did you go there?
You're just taking notes. So 3 years at Ramesh, 2 years at Adyashanti, 1 year at, and then I'll get it.
Yeah. No, how long?
Well, in my case, it took 3 years.
3 years. Oh.
But it's not an answer, it's ridiculous.
No. But
just for the fun of the conversation.
Yeah. That's the only thing I do. Well, how did you feel the difference? Did it happen overnight, or did it happen because you were scared, or how did it?
No, I was going to the bathroom.
Yes.
So maybe we should all try to go to the bathroom and see what happens. Ragi gave you 2 bathrooms we can share, women and men, and you see, if we go into that direction, it's going to be a lot of funny stories, but it's not going to give any proper answer actually.
No,
that's the story. That's curiosity. Yeah.
Yes. So how did you?
So I'm gonna make it a bit funny, but that's the closest I can do. Is somebody entered the bathroom and nobody went out actually. So I must be stuck there. I should check. Could be worse places actually, yeah. And so what I did is, what I'm telling you today, is instead of listening to the guys, I did it for myself. I just went into the depth of this mechanism and trying to figure out if there was actually somebody there doing something and why the division was appearing for myself, not by listening to somebody. That's the only possibility. That's what I'm telling you. And by doing that, all the I would say the non-explored assumptions dissolve one after one after one after one. Again, I say, yeah, it can't be that. It's not. So I have no idea why I am. And in this not knowing, there was a kind of feeling of something like a bubble popping, and this process of division stopped. And then, okay, now I'm going to give you a bit of the story. Then after that, it was like, okay, life goes on, because it's been always there actually. The process was irrelevant. It was just, some bubbles on top of life itself. So life went on, and then, but the interesting part is that, but is it only that? I mean, is it so simple? It's ridiculous, it's a joke. It's nothing. And so, but then, what happened in a few hours after that, I had the idea of taking some books, like I Am That from Tiruvannamalai or some stuff like that, and I started reading. And I was laughing because it was like, before it was in Chinese, or it was, I mean, I understood them, but at a certain level, and suddenly they became French. I could read directly, clearly what he was talking about, because it was direct recognition. It was not about, it was a description. So that was a kind of the only proof I needed that it was the end of the search, and the search stopped. That's the second parameter. If the search is going on, there is something fishy about that. You see? That's the proof in the pudding. And then I don't need a proof anyway, I don't care. I didn't talk about that for many, many years, for 10, 15 years. So it's not that I'm interested in teaching, in sharing or whatever. I have a job, a proper job, not that song. And and it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Obviously, life has. Then there is this process, what we call, we read in a book, and we are so interested in integration and blah blah blah, and it's there. I agree. I changed. You ask my wife, she will say I changed. But this is just a side effect. It's not the point. It's not the point. That's not the point. Something changing one way, the other way. It's the dance of life. There's no need for that. There's no. It's a bonus. It's cherry on top of the cake. That's why, see, if you go for the cherry, you're shooting in your own foot all the time. So that's not the point.
If you go for
the cherry that's on top of the cake, cherry on top of the cake, you shoot in your own foot, because you not only you're looking for something that is irrelevant, but also you're creating this sense that you're not complete, you're not whole. So you're missing the entry door. That's right now. The entry door is there. It's there for all of us, all the time. So you want to try to do the trick of the bathroom, huh?
Yeah.
Let's see if she comes out.
Actually, it's a true story. I tried to ask him, because I could see the change over time. And I asked him, what happened? What happened? And he wouldn't want to say. And then 10 years after, he said, I just went to the bathroom and never came out.
If it was in a nice bathroom
Yeah.
in Norway, it's not a big
It's not a bad thing, there were always space than that.
bad place to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. Yeah, we have a nice bathroom actually. That may be helping. It's open to the nature. It's not closed actually, so maybe I escaped into the nature.
But he almost lost me because he told me, between you and the fern there is no difference. And I was like, what is the guy saying?
But I realized after that was not appropriate.
So then for 10 years he didn't speak.
That's the maturation process. You need to talk properly after that. Especially to your wife.
Between her and the what?
The fern.
Fern.
We have ferns around the house, and very seriously, or as a joke, but he said, between you and the fern there is no difference. I was not ready for that.
It's plant. It's plant, yeah.
So you didn't speak for 10 years? Or you speak funny?
No, very soon after I started trying to express something, but it was not getting across properly. So I just stopped talking about it.
Like
And
many new people that have an experience and then claim it, there is this expansion to want to share because you are the world and you want to share. And in fact it can come out very clumsily. And this is what happened.
yeah.
And this is a clever mind, but he was talking nonsense. So for 10 years
So I had to shut she was my guru for 10 years. That's a post-processing.
Yeah.
So without that, I would be maybe...
So it actually took 10 years to just establish.
No, there's no change. It's
No.
not about establishing anything, it's being able to communicate properly. And to use the specific words that I feel are the most appropriate, which is not easy because they are all useless actually. And then even after these 10 years, it took another 10 years to be here actually. So it's not that I'm drawn to any teaching or sharing, but when there are friends, intense, passionate friends, asking to meet, I'm really happy to do that. And we try to. I mean, we are. It's not. There is no. We are playing together. It's not a teaching. It's a game.